The TV studio buzzed with electricity. Cameras rolled. Millions were watching. Karoline Leavitt, young and fiery, stared straight into the camera with eyes that burned like fire. Tonight was different. She wasn't just talking politics. She was sending a warning. "Watch your back, Ibrahim," she said sharply. "You're becoming too arrogant." Her words echoed like thunder across the airwaves. But Ibrahim Traore sat calm, hands folded. His eyes didn't blink. For years he had fought for his people through storms, threats, and endless doubt. Arrogant? No. Strong? Yes. Determined? Yes. But arrogant? Never. Still, the tension was thick. The world was watching a clash between two powerful voices. Two visions of leadership. Karoline's words sparked something in Ibrahim's chest. Not anger, but a deep sadness. Could power change a man? Would he lose himself in the fight? The studio lights burned bright, but behind the glow, shadows were growing. This was more than politics now. It was personal. Ibrahim's calm was a shield. Behind the quiet was a storm of thoughts. Karoline's words, sharp-cutting, echoed in his mind. For years, he had carried his people on his back. From dusty villages to crowded cities, he heard their cries, their hope, their pain, and he promised to stand for them no matter the cost. But tonight, the world saw only the clash. The arrogance she spoke of wasn't him. It was a mask, a misunderstanding. He wasn't perfect. None of them were. But his heart beat for justice, for fairness, for the weak who had no voice. The cameras caught every moment of his silence. Some saw weakness, others strength. But deep down, Ibrahim wondered, how do you fight arrogance when the world calls your confidence pride? How do you stay humble when every step forward is watched, judged? His eyes searched the room, not for Karoline, but for the people watching. Would they see the truth? Would they understand? Karoline paced backstage, her heart pounding. This was no ordinary debate. This was a battle for respect, for truth. She had seen Ibrahim rise fast, too fast. Some said the spotlight changed people. Power could make heroes forget the ground beneath their feet. She worried not just for herself, but for the people depending on both of them. "To arrogant," she repeated quietly. But was it just a warning or a cry for help? The world outside the studio was restless. Social media exploded with reactions. Supporters of both sides flooded the internet with fierce words and desperate hope. Inside, the cameras waited. The tension was unbearable. Could this clash tear them apart? Or would it bring something deeper? A chance to face fears, to understand, and maybe to heal. The night was far from over. As the live broadcast continued, millions around the world sat glued to their screens. Social media was exploding. Heated debates, angry comments, and worried voices filled the internet. Everyone was asking the same question. Who is right? Karoline, warning of arrogance, or Ibrahim standing firm for his people? Backstage, Ibrahim's team watched anxiously. They knew the weight of every word their leader spoke. They had seen him through storms far worse than this clash. Hunger, war, betrayal. Yet nothing had broken his spirit. Karolina's words cut sharp. But Ibrahim's calm was a quiet roar. To many, he was a symbol of hope, a man who carried the dreams of millions on his shoulders. But tonight, doubt crept in. Could he withstand the pressure? Would the world misunderstand him? The studio lights shone bright, but behind them, fear flickered. Fear of losing what they had fought so hard for. Later that night, Ibrahim sat alone in his quiet room. The city outside hummed with life. Unaware of the battle raging inside his mind, he thought about Karoline's warning. Was he truly becoming arrogant? Had the spotlight changed him? He remembered the faces of the people he served. Children who dreamt of peace, families struggling to survive, elders hoping for justice. Ibrahim's heart ached. His journey wasn't about fame or pride. It was about love. Love for a future where his people could stand tall. Tears welled in his eyes, not from weakness, but from the weight of responsibility. In the stillness, he promised himself one thing: no matter the storms, he would never forget where he came from. He would stay humble, strong, and true. The next day, the world would watch him again, and this time he would be ready. Meanwhile, Karoline sat in her own quiet space, staring at the screen, where Ibrahim's calm face was still fresh in her mind. She had spoken boldly, but underneath, fear gnawed at her. This wasn't just politics anymore. It was about two futures, one fragile, one uncertain. Her warning wasn't meant to wound, it was meant to protect. She had seen too many leaders fall into the trap of arrogance, forgetting the people they vowed to serve. Could Ibrahim be different? Could he carry the weight without losing himself? Karoline's hands trembled as she reached for a photo, a simple picture of her family, the reason she fought so hard. Tonight, two leaders stood at a crossroads. The world watched, waiting to see who would bend, who would break, and who would rise. The next morning, the world awoke to headlines, flashing Ibrahim's name alongside Karoline's fierce warning. News outlets replayed the tense moments, dissecting every word, every glance. In his small office, Ibrahim read the headlines silently. His phone buzzed endlessly, messages of support and criticism alike. Yet what touched him most were the words from ordinary people. Mothers, teachers, children who believed in his fight for justice. Despite the pressure, Ibrahim's resolve grew stronger. He knew that true leadership was not about proving others wrong, it was about carrying hope when others had none. Meanwhile, Karoline prepared for another round. Her own fears masked behind a mask of confidence. She believed in her role, but deep down the question haunted her. Was this fight about power, or was it about saving a future that felt increasingly fragile? The world waited with bated breath. Two voices, two visions, and the fragile thread of trust that could either bind or break them. Behind closed doors, the two leaders finally met. Away from cameras, away from the noise. Karoline looked at Ibrahim with a mix of challenge and hesitation. Ibrahim's calm eyes held a quiet strength that softened her sharp words. "I never wanted this to be a battle," Ibrahim said gently. "I fight for my people, not for glory." Karoline's voice cracked for the first time. "I'm scared, Ibrahim. Scared that power will change you, that you'll forget who you are." He reached out, a rare moment of vulnerability. "I carry their hopes every day. I will never forget." In that silent room, something shifted. Not an end to the fight, but a fragile understanding. The real battle was not between them, it was for the hearts of those who watched. Later that night, Ibrahim sat alone under a starry sky, the weight of the day pressing on his shoulders. He thought of the people who believed in him, the children who dreamed of peace, the families torn apart by conflict, the weary faces waiting for change. Leadership was no easy path. It was a burden heavy enough to break a man. But Ibrahim's heart was stronger than fear. He whispered a silent promise to the stars. "I will carry this burden no matter how heavy for them." Tears slid down his cheeks. Not weakness, but the deep, raw pain of a man who loved his people more than himself. Tonight, the world saw not arrogance, but a heart willing to sacrifice everything. Days passed, but Ibrahim's thoughts remained restless. The public clash with Karoline had stirred more than political debate. It stirred doubts deep inside his heart. He walked through the crowded streets of his capital city, watching children play, vendors shout, and families struggle quietly. The faces told stories words could never capture. Was he losing himself to the spotlight's glare? Had his confidence crossed into arrogance as Karoline feared, his hands clenched into fists? No, his strength came from them, from every single soul, who believed in a better tomorrow. Yet the loneliness of leadership weighed heavier than ever. No one saw the nights he spent questioning himself, or the tears he swallowed in silence. Ibrahim knew that power could be a dangerous fire, but he vowed to keep it controlled, not for himself, but for the people. Across the ocean, Karoline sat alone in her dim apartment, the glow of the city lights casting long shadows. Her warning to Ibrahim echoed in her mind, not just a political jab, but a plea from a place of fear and hope. Had she been too harsh? Could she have reached out instead of drawing a line? She thought of her own beginnings, how fear of failure pushed her to fight hard, sometimes too hard. The rivalry had grown beyond politics. It was personal. And for the first time, she felt the crushing weight of what she had started. Would I forgive her? Could they find a way forward? Her heart ached with the possibility that this fight might cost more than either of them wanted. One quiet morning, Ibrahim's phone beeped. A message appeared from an unknown number. It was from Karoline. "Can we talk for the future we both want?" His breath caught. Could this be a chance to end the growing tension, to heal old wounds? Ibrahim stared out the window, the rising sun casting light on a new possibility. The world watched, holding its breath once more. Sometimes the strongest leaders aren't those who shout the loudest, but those brave enough to listen. Ibrahim and Karoline met in a quiet, unassuming cafe, away from the flashing cameras and shouting crowds. The air was thick. With unspoken words, both understood the stakes. They weren't just fighting for power, but for the future of millions watching from afar. Karoline's voice was softer this time. "I never wanted to hurt you. I just feared what the spotlight might do." Ibrahim looked at her with understanding, not anger. "We both want the same thing, a better life for our people. But sometimes the weight we carry feels unbearable." For a moment, the walls between them crumbled. Two leaders, vulnerable and human. This fragile truce was not a surrender, but a beginning, a chance to build something stronger than rivalry. Outside, the world waited. The cameras were off, but the eyes of millions remained fixed on what would come next. In the weeks that followed, Ibrahim and Karoline worked quietly behind the scenes. They shared stories of their childhoods, their fears, and their dreams. Ibrahim spoke of nights spent walking dusty roads, promising his people he would never let them down. Karoline opened up about her struggles to balance strength with kindness in a world that rewarded only power. They realized that beneath the clash, they were bound by the same hopes and heartbreaks. Yet their journey was far from easy. Old fears lingered, and the world was quick to judge any sign of weakness. But for Ibrahim, the burden was lighter, knowing someone understood. For Karoline, the fight had changed from opposing a rival to standing beside a fellow leader. The day came when Ibrahim stood before a massive crowd, his voice steady and strong. The rivalry was no longer about personal pride, but about unity. He spoke of forgiveness, of shared dreams, and of the power to change. Together, Karoline stood nearby, watching quietly, a small smile breaking through her usual seriousness. The crowd was moved. Tears flowed as hope blossomed from the ashes of conflict. For the first time, the world saw not two rivals, but two leaders willing to rise above difference. In that moment, a new chapter began, one where strength was measured not by arrogance, but by compassion. The night was quiet, but inside Ibrahim's heart, a storm raged. Forgiveness was not easy. It was the heaviest burden he had ever carried. Karoline's apology was sincere, but years of rivalry had left scars deeper than words. Still, Ibrahim knew that holding on to anger would only break the fragile peace they'd built. He thought of his people, tired, hopeful, watching him for strength. With a deep breath, he chose mercy over pride. Forgiveness was his gift, not just to Karoline, but to the future they'd both dreamed of. The path ahead was uncertain, but his heart was lighter than it had been in months. The sun rose on a changed world. Ibrahim and Karoline stood side by side at a press conference, their hands raised in a rare moment of unity. Their rivalry had sparked fear, but now it sparked hope. Ibrahim spoke softly but firmly. Leadership is not about standing alone, it's about lifting others together. The crowd erupted in cheers, tears streaming down faces. The fight was not over, but a new chapter had begun, a chapter of respect, compassion, and shared dreams. Later that evening, Ibrahim looked out over the city lights. He thought of every child who believed in him, every family waiting for peace. His journey was far from over, but tonight he felt something rare. Peace. To the viewers who shared this journey, thank you. Your hope, your tears, your belief are the true strength behind this story. If Ibrahim's courage touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Your thoughts below. Together, let's keep hope alive, because every leader needs a community and every story deserves to be heard.